All right, pop quiz. What is a green card? A VIP pass to the United States. B, a card that's green. C, a golden ticket that takes 10 plus years to get. If you answered all of the above, congratulations, you know more than most people. But have you ever wondered why it's even called a green card? And why the US makes people jump through so many hoops just to stay? Buckle up, because this story is full of rules, weird paperwork, and more color changes than you'd ever expect. Early immigration, the no paperwork era. Back in the 1800s, moving to America was surprisingly simple. No visas, no background checks. Just hop off a boat at Ellis Island, and if you didn't have tuberculosis, you were in. But as more immigrants arrived, some Americans panicked. Enter the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the first big no thanks law in U.S. immigration policy. More restrictions followed, leading up to the 1924 Immigration Act, which introduced national quotas. Basically, if you were from Northern or Western Europe, you had a decent shot. If not, well, tough luck. But how did they track who was actually allowed to stay? That brings us to World War II, where the US realizes it needs receipts. By the 1940s, the government figured out that simply trusting people to obey immigration laws wasn't working. So in 1940, Congress passed the Alien Registration Act, requiring all non-citizens to register. The result, the Alien Registration Receipt Card. A name that rolls right off the tongue, right? This card was proof that you were in the US legally. It wasn't green yet, but it was the great-great-grandparent of today's green card. So then why is it even called a green card? In 1946, the US decided to switch up the card design, and bam, they made it green. No deep meaning, no symbolism. Just a color change to help officials sort paperwork. But here's the kicker. The card didn't stay green. Over the years, it went through an identity crisis, turning blue, yellow, and even pink before finally going green again in 2010. Despite all the color swaps, the name stuck. Because let's be honest, pink card just doesn't have the same ring to it. And now we're in the 1950s, when the green card becomes official. By the 1950s, the system got an upgrade. Instead of just being a registration form, the green card became the official proof of permanent residency. This meant you could live in the US indefinitely, you could work here legally, you still had to carry your card at all times because losing it was a big problem. Oh, and if you left the US for too long, immigration could decide you had abandoned your residency. Imagine spending years trying to get a green card, finally getting it, and then losing it because you took an extended vacation. Brutal. But the 1965 Immigration Act was a game changer. For decades, the US immigration system had a pretty clear bias favoring Europeans. That changed with the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which abolished racial and nationality quotas, allowed more family-based immigration, and introduced employment-based green cards. This law completely reshaped U.S. immigration, opening the doors for millions of people from Asia, Latin America, and Africa. The modern green card system is born. These days, getting a green card isn't as simple as registering at Ellis Island. There are 4 main ways to get one. Family sponsorship. If you've got a U.S. citizen spouse or parent, you've got the easiest path. Employment-based. If you've got skills the U.S. really wants or an employer willing to do mountains of paperwork, you're in. Refugee or asylum status. For those fleeing dangerous situations. The visa lottery. Yes, a literal lottery where about 50,000 people win a green card each year. Winning the lottery would be cool, but unfortunately, most green card applicants spend years waiting in a bureaucratic limbo that makes the DMV look efficient. Which brings us to an important question. Can you lose a green card? Oh, absolutely. And not just by losing the physical card, though that's a headache too. You can lose your status if you commit certain crimes, you leave the US for too long without permission, or you forget to file some boring immigration form. That's why a lot of green card holders eventually apply for citizenship. Because once you've spent years getting the card, you don't want to risk losing it. So there you have it, the brief history of the green card, from its war era beginnings to its modern day marathon of paperwork. And even though it hasn't always been green, the name stuck. Will the green card process ever get easier? Probably not, but at least now you know why people fight so hard to get one. If you enjoyed this hurried history lesson, hit the subscribe button for more fascinating stories from the past. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Hurried History.